Let's talk about how we can all cut our energy bills, give up hot drinks, take showers together, go to bed early, jump up and down in your bin to try and warm yourself up.
Yeah.
That's not actually on the list. But the other ones are all advice from an energy supplier that raised prices by 18% last year. First Utility, Britain's biggest independent energy supplier, which has about 300,000 customers, issued its advice as part of an energy diet plan that they believe could cut £150 from a typical bill. Well, the advice has been met with a chilly reception from Labour's Shadow Energy Minister, Tom Greatrex. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What is wrong with those suggestions? They're quite sensible ones, surely?
Well, I don't think that they are. There are lots of sensible things you can, people do to try to minimise their energy consumption, but suggesting having a shower with your neighbour is not something that I would dare suggest either to my constituents or to my neighbours.
Neighbour?
Well, surely the neighbour thing is stretching it slightly. I mean, that's maybe a close personal friend or a loved one, perhaps.
Yeah, even with that, I think I don't want to be too po-faced about it, because I'm sure this was done in tongue-in-cheek, and I'm sure somewhere before Christmas a PR person thought it was a good way of getting into the news in the quiet period, and perhaps the fact that we're talking about it means they've succeeded in that. But there's a serious issue here about energy and efficiency and energy consumption, and how people use energy, and I don't think actually some of these things help with that debate, because people are struggling to pay their bills. There are things people can do, but they're struggling to pay their bills at the moment, and to sort of read this or hear this, these sort of suggestions about giving up hot drinks or playing Monopoly rather than watching their TV and those types of things are as tongue-in-cheek as they may be. They actually will find, and I'm sure you've seen from some of the comments and some of this, people get quite angry and quite insulted about those sort of things being suggested as serious ways of dealing with the cost of energy, when the fundamentals are there needs to be real changes to the way the energy market works, and there are sensible things which people can do which they could and should be doing. Some of those are around big things like energy efficiency and insulation and all those types of things, where unfortunately because of changes made to schemes, it's harder for people to find their way around those things, but they can make a real difference in terms of how much energy you use to heat your home and keep the lights on.
But part of the problem with this is that if politicians start to make suggestions, I mean, David Cameron got into trouble, didn't he? Because he said that, well, put an extra jumper on. But actually, that's quite a sensible suggestion, isn't it? Because, if you turn your thermostat down a couple of notches and don't expect to walk around your house in a T-shirt in the middle of January, then you are going to save yourself some money.
Well, I'm not sure how many people actually have their houses so warm that they do walk around in T-shirts in mid-January, particularly over the last couple of years, or the last couple of very cold winters we've had. But there are things, for example, with that, there are loads of houses in the UK who have central heating systems without thermostats. So they're belting out heat inefficiently, so they're not able to even control it. So there's things like that which are, in relative terms, quite simple to do, which would make a much bigger difference. There are huge numbers of homes who don't have any, who do have cavity walls, who do have lofts, who don't have any insulation in them for a variety of reasons. Things like that should be tackled first and foremost, because they will make a big difference. And that's the sort of thing which First Utility, because they are one of the larger of the small suppliers, if you see what I mean, they've gone over the threshold where they now have some responsibility as an energy company in terms of providing energy efficiency measures to their customers, and I'm sure that the serious people at that company will be paying attention to that and being able to deliver that rather than stuff that's in their press release.
And I'm sure we should also mention, I'm sure that for everybody who's walking around in a T-shirt with the central heating turned up high, there are plenty of elderly people who are sitting there wrapped up against the cold and having to make decisions about whether they can afford to switch their heating on at all.
Tom, there are many more of those, I would have thought.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Tom Greatrex, who is Labour's Shadow Energy Minister. I wonder how cold it's going to be this weekend.